Morning. Hope you're all okay. It's very, very rainy Monday. I'm just checking that I'm live in the group. Jade's had the day off today, which is entirely un-okay, as it means I have to fend for myself on this stuff. Yep, I can see myself. So if you're on, come and say hi. Click the link above the video so I can see your name so I know who I'm talking to. So this webinar was one that Donna specifically asked for. In fact, I'm just going to tag Donna and see if she's on, because I think what she wanted was some tips on the practicalities of setting up a webinar. But that's really difficult without knowing what software you're all using. But I am going to talk about all of that. Hang on. Donna Danielle Stars, are you here? Okay. So this is specifically today going to be about choosing your topic for your webinar, your attention-grabbing title, deciding a format, how you kind of create a bit of a story to flow through, getting your audience's attention, and then doing a dry run, so having a practice by yourself. So to start off with all of this information kind of thing. Morning, who's that? Hi, Sue, you okay? Oh, it's lovely to see you here. So the very first thing is to start having some clarity on why the heck you're running a webinar in the first place. Lots of people get this idea that this is the next thing they need to do, but without having a clear goal and a clear outcome, it's entirely pointless, like any of your business activities. And do you want to do it, or is this something else that you felt that I should be doing this, so it's something else I just need to add into all the things that I do already? So first of all, it's deciding like what your reason is for doing this. And there can be a few reasons. So it could be to sell specifically at the end of it, which is generally the main reason people run webinars, is they give you some value packed information. And then at the end, there's a sell of how you can get more of that. Some people run them to collect email addresses so that you can have people on your email list, which is another really, really important thing to be doing. It's deciding if webinars are the right way for you to do that. Some people do it to gain visibility. So they have lots of people register for them and they're kind of growing their brand and increasing their know, like, trust factor in theory. For you, it's deciding, is a webinar the best way I could do this in my business right now? So really, really check in before you commit to doing anything like this, because webinars can be quite a big deal. Check in before you commit to something like this, what your strategy is behind it, what the reason is that you're doing any of this. But I mean, a really good webinar can drive traffic to your website, it can win new customers, it can build your reputation. So there can be great things to do, but there's a commitment there. When you're creating and running a webinar, the ideal thing that you're trying to do is to inform and engage your audience, to kind of generate some buzz around whatever it is you're talking about, to increase your sign-ups and give the attendees some real value. Like, come at these webinars with a real passion for helping the people that you've created this webinar around. So once you've decided on your webinar, decided you can do one, you need to look at your target audience. And yes, your target audience should be your ideal client, without question, but there are niches and nuances within that. So if I'm doing a webinar live this morning, although my target audience are female business owners, this won't apply to everybody. So if I was running a webinar about how to run webinars, I'm only going to get the people on that who want to do that. So the target audience is narrowed significantly depending on what topic you decide to run. So it's getting really clear on who the ideal audience is for that particular webinar, which might be a slightly separate thing from your ideal client. So if I was running, which I won't be because I know nothing about it, a webinar on how to increase your following on TikTok, I know that my ideal clients for that are only business owners who are using TikTok, not all of the other business owners, even though they might fall into my whole broader range of ideal clients. So for your webinar specifically, you've got to decide on your target audience. And once you've identified who you're teaching, choose a great webinar topic that that allows you to share authoritative information on their pain points, on their needs, on skills that would be of really good value to that target audience. So really start thinking about the topic and how you demonstrate your ideal client's audience's need for that topic. So something like this, again, is a dead simple one for me. If you wanted to know how to run webinars to increase email signups or whatever, that's what I would create my topic around. So you've got to narrow it down to make your webinar useful enough and informative enough and powerful enough. You've got to narrow it down to a specific topic that's informative to that target audience. People want to watch a webinar about one thing, and that can be really tricky when there's so many things you can teach. A webinar itself is a really narrowly focused way of teaching. So you would get a webinar about marketing is kind of a broad and vague topic. You would not get as many signups if I said I'm doing a webinar on marketing as I would if I was doing something like a webinar on how to create great visual content. So it's niching down what your webinar title is going to be. I wish you were on Donna, because I specifically want to know what it is that you're looking for your webinar, because I'm trying to think how. So if you don't know Donna yet, she runs a geek fashion business. She trades at Comic-Con. She's off to Liverpool this weekend. And she makes great like geek superhero skirts, just geek clothes for women. But I think when she originally posted this question, it was about running a webinar to, I want to say something to do with the actual sewing of the skirts, to teaching people how to make their own clothes. I feel like it was something around that. But if you come on, Donna, tell me so that I can like make the examples really specific to you. So we're talking about niching the webinar title. A huge part of that is writing an attention grabbing kind of title. And there's kind of themes you can use along this idea for stuff. So you could ask a question. So your theme for the webinar could be based around a question. So it could be something like, have you cracked Canva? A question that makes your audience answer and know that the webinar is designed specifically for them. It can be insight and action. So come and crack Canva. Could be like inspiring them to get an action. It is absolutely slinging down here. I'm surprised you can't hear it on the roof now. It's mad. Solve the problem. The same thing, just think about the phrasing of how you create your title. So crack Canva would be solving the problem, basically. Include keywords in your title where you can. So really think about what these people are searching for, what they specifically want to know, and try and include those keywords for it. So it could be something a bit more open. So again, depending on how you decide to phrase this, depending on your client, it could be a bit more of an open title. So something like how to create beautiful social media graphics in 10 minutes. It could be a bit more open, but it includes keywords, thinking that, or quick social media graphics, something that they're specifically searching for. And give content clues in your title potentially, so teach them. So that one's a really good example of 10 minutes to create social media graphics, to create attention-grabbing social media graphics. It's that you're giving them clues of what is going to be in the webinar. And then you kind of, depending what the point of your webinar is, decide on the format. So there are loads. So you could do a kind of a how-to situation, show people how to do things. You could do an interview kind of thing where you're talking to someone. So in Ladies Life Lounge, we often used to do like guest experts, and it's a bit of an interview with the interviewer presenting at the same time. Could do kind of an Ask Me Anything type webinar, providing that you have some guidelines around that so these people know what they can ask you, making sure it's specifically on topic. You can have a bit of a panel discussion or a case study. You could show something that you've done for someone and then show other people how to do it. You can have a bit of a debate webinar, depending on what your aim of the webinar is in the end, what the point of it all is. And a huge important part of engaging these people in your webinar, I feel like I said webinar a billion times, but seeing as that's what I'm talking about, it makes sense. A huge way to engage with people is kind of tell them through a story, kind of lead them through a story about why your customer should be interested in this. So you can use a testimonial example. For example, Anna came to me 3 years ago because she was struggling doing all the things on social media, and here are some of the strategies we put in place to take it off of her back, to make it quicker, and now look at where her business is now, and lead people through a whole story around how you take people from there to there. And the thing is, if you're doing a selling webinar, what you will generally do is in the webinar itself, you will tell people what they need to do and why they need to do it. And you will only tell them a little bit of the how. The rest of the how will come in whatever it is you're selling at the end. So you're giving them value and content. You're saying you need to do this and this is why. If you need more help doing this, this is what I can give to you. And that's generally, from all the webinars I see, that's the main reason. Is so you give them the what, the why, a bit of the how, but the main majority of the how they do that is it within your paid for thing at the end. That's the point. The people who sign up for webinars generally know they're getting some level of teaching, but not it all. But it's how you lead them into that throughout the whole process. And when you're telling this story, it's kind of like following a fairy tale story wherever you can. So it's what the situation is, what's at stake. So when there's a problem, what happens then? How your product or service or whatever it is swoops in and comes to the rescue and deliver a satisfying ending to the story that you're creating for them. Remember, on a webinar and in all of life, you need to tap into the audience's emotional stuff, the problems they have, the pain points they have, and show them how you can fix them. And providing you're doing this in an ethical way with an actual good intention to fix them, that's what selling is. It's the idea is you have an issue, I can fix it for you. And I only want to work with businesses that actually can fix the problems rather than ones that are saying they can but don't deliver, like the fake Facebook ads. I'll not get into that one. So when you're running the webinar, there's kind of 3 basic factors that I need you to be looking at. So the type of topic you choose, your efforts at promoting it. So in any kind of marketing stuff, whatever you create, so say I create an ebook or a course or whatever, 20% of my time should go into creating that, 80% of my time should go into marketing that. And that's the hardest thing for everybody, including me. It's the thing we all get stuck on the most, is we feel like all we're doing is talking about it. And it's got to come back around to remembering not everyone's heard about it. It's like the Ideal Client course I've created. There's 160 odd people in here. Not everybody in here has heard about that, because I haven't marketed it for 80% of my time. And that's all that happens. You have to market this webinar to be able to get people to join it. And then after that, it's how you engage with them when they're there, how you pull them into knowing what it's about. When you're actually doing the webinar, do a dry run. So I'm going to talk to you about software in a minute, because it's a bit of a minefield out there. When you're running it, make sure you know how it runs before you start. There's nothing worse than jumping on last minute and not being able to show slides or whatever it is, not being able to see the audience. I ran a session for O2, Virgin Media O2 on Wednesday, and I had to get my husband to show me Teams that morning, because I don't use Teams. I use a ton of different things, but I've never used Teams properly. And the panic of, oh crap, I don't really know how to do this, just before you're doing something massive, is huge. Good morning, Anisha. You're right, darling. You had a brilliant weekend, didn't you? I think Anisha was at a wedding fair this weekend. Anisha makes wedding cakes. Make sure you know how the heck to use the software that you're using, preferably not 10 minutes before. And if you can, have a bit of a dry run through of it. Really check that it flows and that any interaction bits you're doing fall in the right place, that you know how to record it so that you can use it for a later date if necessary. Really make sure you have a dry run through where you can. Check how long it takes you, because that's one of the things that happens all the time is it takes a lot longer than we think. This webinar I was just talking about, I had 40 odd slides for that and I had 90 minutes, including question time. So then my husband helpfully told me that's about 2 minutes a slide and I had a heart attack. Know that you should know that beforehand, and luckily it was absolutely fine. But know that beforehand, know how much time you've got and ensure that you can stick to that if necessary. The thing with webinars is an audience are told how long it will be, so they can schedule for that. When it runs over, you might lose them before the end. And if you are pitching or selling at the end and you've lost them because you said you were going to be an hour and you're already 90 minutes in, it makes all your efforts pretty pointless. They've taken away that bit of value, but they've not got to see how you could help them more. So know your times and stick to it. Having a dry run is honestly so recommended. I'm grinning because I so rarely do it because I'm trying to cram it into extra time. But I know the ones that I've practiced first are usually way better and I'm more confident in doing them in the first place. So if it's your new one, the first time you've ever done one, I totally recommend that. Okay, so in terms of tech, the webinar tool most of us know is Zoom. Now, the issue with Zoom is they have a free plan for 30 or 40 minutes. I think it's dropped to 30. It might have said 40. To host meetings. That doesn't include webinars. To host any webinars on Zoom. Let's see if I can screen share. I think I can screen share. If I do this. This one. So Zoom's pricing plan for any webinars at all for up to 500 attendees is a minimum of £64 a month. That's a lot of money for a small business, like a lot of money. Now, what you could do is just have it for the month you're running a webinar. So if you know that you are promoting something and you know Zoom and you want to use Zoom, you could just pay for it for the month. However, you've got to know then that you can't have more than a month lead time to promote it because you need to be able to put the link in the sign up. So you need to have created the link before you run it, which means if you've just paid for a month and you need a month to market it, you just got to be very careful of your dates. But that is something you can do. Zoom is absolutely fabulous for webinars, but it is a lot of money. You can live stream it to other platforms as well. So you can live stream it to Facebook or YouTube, etc. But yeah, £64 a month. That's a lot of money. Did I even put that in the screen? I have no idea. Free plans back to 40 minutes, thank you. But it still doesn't include webinars at all, which is it is what it is. One I use, there are loads, and the other part of this is lots of them offer free trials. So again, if you can plan it out well enough, I think things like, what do you call it? Hang on. GoToWebinar. I think I've done this. I think Webinar Geek offers a free trial. I think there's a GoToWebinar. Something like Google Meet, technically, can be manipulated to host a webinar. I use something called Live Webinar. I bought a lifetime plan for it a while ago. But let me see if I can screen share this one. Yep, niche uses Zoom for consultations, free plan only. I sometimes use Zoom. Yep, no time limit. I now use this live webinar. Like I said, I bought a lifetime plan, which is something I tend to do wherever I can because I love it. I love not paying a monthly subscription. Let me just see if I can find it. So I use this one. It's called Live Webinar. yeah, I've got a lifetime plan, so it makes no difference. For a free plan, you can host up to 5 attendees, but I use this for just personal meetings anyway, instead of Zoom now. But the Pro one allows you to host up to 100 attendees. It allows you to host paid webinar. You can brand it. It's £15 a month, which is a heck of a lot cheaper than Zoom. Up to 100, and then you can pay to add more on if you need to. But really, when we're talking about small businesses, if you get more than 100, cracking job. If not, we want to be paying the minimum. We don't want to be chucking money into webinars without having tested they work for us, really. So yeah, live webinars one. I'll pop a link in a bit about it. If you pay yearly, it's even cheaper, but obviously you have to commit to it. If anyone's ever had any kind of one-to-one work with me in the last 6 months, it's all been on live webinar. My favorite part of this, do you want to know, is that you can knock when you join the session, you knock to tell me that you're there. It's so cool. There are loads of webinar plans you can use. There's no point in trying to get into the nuances and details without doing a specific webinar on that specific webinar tool, because they're all very, very different. I love live webinar. It's worked really, really well for me so far. And yeah, it's dead cheap. If I see any more lifetime deals, it will have only been about $69. Then I'll share them because it is worth it. And like I said, I then don't have to pay for Zoom at all. So has anyone got any questions at all? It's a strange topic, webinars, because there's so many different ways you can do it. But yeah, my big tips on this are: know why you're doing it, know what the outcome is, know what audience you're targeting it for, and you have to market it. Once you've decided you're running it, the marketing it to get people on it is the most important thing. One reason why I still don't do them that much, because I'm just lazy on my marketing. Yeah, that's the only reason. I'd much rather do a live where I can just show up, that's it, and I'm done. That suits me much better at this point. But there's a lot to be said. You can get a lot of value out of webinars. It depends on your ideal client and what they want. If there's no questions, I'll get my butt off. What are you all doing today? Who's on? Anisha and Sue, what are you doing? What are your goals this week? We're in the middle of decorating, so it's all a bit crazy up here. I feel like we've got stuff everywhere. Yes, I don't use Zoom. Is that Sue still? Yep, I don't use Zoom at all now, Sue, unless someone can't get on my live webinar platform, which might have happened to you once, but I don't know why, because that's generally what I use. I don't use Zoom at all now, unless someone sends me a link. I use this live webinar for everything instead. I can brand it with my own stuff, yeah. And like I said, I got a $69 lifetime license. I don't pay anything for it ever again. I will look to see if there's any lifetime licenses again. Ooh, Anisha's walking the dog. You're going to Clumber and swapping wardrobes over. We've got to dismantle 2 kids' wardrobes, and honestly, the thought of it makes me cry. That's mine and my mum's job tomorrow on my day off, I think. Joy. Anything else? Yeah. For you, it's like whether it's worth getting used to a new software. But I can absolutely give you a crash course in live webinar. I will check if there's any more lifetime plans. I buy lots of stuff on lifetime through like a software company called AppSumo, and I love it. That's where I got Social Bee from on lifetime when I talk about that. All right. No workman. Good, Anisha. Have a lovely day. Right, I'm getting off. I've got one client, and then I don't know what I'm doing. Whatever's on my next part of my list. I'm sure there's something. Don't know. And then swimming lessons because it's Monday. Joy. Right. Have a fabulous Monday. Have a fab week. If you've got any questions about anything businessy, of course, post it in the group for me, and I will talk to you all soon. Thanks. Bye.